paramedical cannabis. Can you feel that the heel is real? The heel is real.
Welcome to the Green Standard Podcast, powered by Veriheal, where we talk about cannabis and the things that connect us. Today, we have Brad Shelly, who is not only the manager of Monteverde in New Jersey, but you've lived in a lot of really interesting cannabis markets. You have a lot of unique experience on your resume. So I'll shut up. Brad, who are you outside of what I said?
Thank you. I think if you were to go back and ask my parents, they would agree. I mean, like, being more of an adult has always been a part of my life, always kind of embraced that cannabis culture, always been kind of trying to find my place.
When you say always, how far back is that for you?
I started to use like medically, personally, around the time that I was like 22.
Mm-hmm.
So just for frame of reference, I'm 41 now. So
Okay. I wasn't going to make you tell me that.
no, you're
but
good. So, it was quite a while ago.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And just seeing the effects that it was, having on me, the quality of life that I was able to lead while using it, as opposed to taking other things like, traditional medications, that sort of thing.
No, for real.
Just made me very passionate, like I said, about the plant and using it as a medicine. So I started my journey of just, doing my research, following the news and trends and just where cannabis was going, and, started seeking, like I said, my place and getting a foothold.
Yeah. So what did you envision that to look like initially? Like, what did you want to do?
A dispensary kind of environment was always the goal for me.
Yeah.
Being able to actually directly interact with the customers, get their experiences, get their insight. I've always loved that. That's always been a big thing for me. That's always been the main goal for me. So being able to find my spot in the industry, help open up several dispensaries now, I love it. I'm in a great spot.
Yes. That's so beautiful to think of Brad 20 years ago, looking forward at Brad now, you know what I mean? And knowing that you're doing the thing that he set out to do. I kind of want to talk about, you've lived in a couple different places.
Mm-hmm.
Like DC, Maryland is historically a really interesting market. Like Maryland just went rec, right?
Yep.
And so I remember when I lived close to DC, the way I would buy weed is like ordering an $80 cookie, and some strange driver meets me at a Starbucks, gives me a cookie and
So
an egg or something for $80. But
that's how I got my start. That's exactly it. So DC opened up their I-71 laws as far as gifting.
Mm.
So, started testing out the waters there, seeing what it was all about. Fell in love with the pop-up scene there. Just
Yes.
loved that party environment. You know what I mean? I was going to some that had like full-on DJs, people doing like fire spinning and all that fun stuff. So it was just a whole vibe. So knew I wanted to be a part of that. So a friend of mine and I, had gotten together. He had some contacts. We put the pieces in place and started a small company, started doing the pop-ups in DC under the I-71 compliance laws, and just started gifting the products that we had and started making a name for ourselves.
Did you grow your own stuff?
No, I would love to be able to say, that I was doing that. I don't have a green thumb. I've tried several times, you know what I mean? Reading books, just trying to study the plant, and I feel like I do have a knowledge base, but when it comes to actually following through on that front, that's not my jam.
Yes, that's why you make connections, that's why you bring your friends in. Are you talking about Jar Buddies? Is that what it's called?
Yep. Yes.
So what is Jar Buddies? What was?
Jar Buddies was the name of the company. It was a concept created by my friend, just the whole mason jars, keeping your weed stash that way, and just the whole friend and community environment with cannabis. He just came up with the concept of Jar Buddies, and we kind of hit the ground running with that name. Like I said, we were doing several pop-ups a week. We were, meeting up with people. We had people coming from out of state, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Delaware, just to come to the pop-ups that we were at. So we built up a really nice following. That's also where I got my true experience of helping people, just because those people were coming from so far away, because the products that we were carrying were helping them and making them feel better. So getting to see that firsthand, I mean, that really pushed me to continue.
Yes. And like from the way you're describing it, it sounds like it was like a laid back, open vibe where it's like you're helping your friends feel better. And it's like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes. That also made my initial knowledge base take off too. I was meeting people that had certain ailments. One in particular, I was helping a guy with Crohn's and found that, CBG was a key component to, his relief with that. With that, we were kind of, trying to hunt down strains that had testing and products that had testing, where we could show that it had a slightly higher or more than most CBG levels so that, we could supply him with that so that he would feel better.
Sweet. So even like from the start, it sounds like it wasn't just like a recreational cannabis thing. It was like medicine to you then too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were there for it. If somebody was looking for it for just fun, we were
Mm.
there for that. But my drive personally, I was there, to help people. I was already kind of looking at things that way from early on.
How did that translate into then the Maryland market? When did that shift? How did that shift?
From the aspect that, like, if somebody was looking for a product or something that somebody didn't have, we were reaching out to the other pop-up people like, hey, I know that you usually have this or whatever, and just really trying to help people out. And it was a really solid community. My partner and I and some of the other vendors, we got involved with it was supposed to be like a big party environment, concert, you know what I mean, the whole thing.
Mhm.
Got involved with it and none of the band showed up. It was a whole
Yikes.
thing.
Yeah.
So that really kind of put the initial bad taste in my mouth. There were some things going on internally in DC politically. You had the police taking a different interpretation of I-71. It was kind of perfect timing. Maryland was opening up its medical market at the time. Browsing around, looking at job postings, and happened to come across a job posting for Health for Life. Got brought on initially to help them open up their Baltimore location and was made the general manager there.
Is that the place that has the drive-through?
Correct. Yep.
So what did like setting that up look like?
That really came down to the security and compliance of it. Really kind of going back and forth with the state with making sure that we had all of the camera placements that they were looking for us to have, all the proper coverage, that we were setting up our internal SOPs, to meet what they were looking for. Maryland didn't want people sitting in the drive-thru for too long. So it was pre-order only. You weren't allowed to make any adjustments to your order at the window. To make adjustments, we were making you pull around and come inside, that sort of thing. So just kind of navigating how that was going to work. And then also the drive-thru was very high demand. We were the first in the state to get ours open.
Sick.
So it blew up quick. We would most days have a line wrapped around the store of people waiting to go through the drive-thru. Navigating all of that from the security and compliance aspect was huge.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You couldn't just put like a number 8 combo meal and it's like 2 pre-rolls and an 8.
No, but it's funny that you say that because the store that we did that with was a former Burger King location. So it worked out perfect. We already had the
Dude.
drive-through set up. So that was something we were excited about from the jump. I was getting that drive-through open. It just, took a little time, took some convincing with the state that we were going to be able to do it safely.
So do you have like a soft spot for Burger King?
Yes and no. There were some smells that lingered in the building. I
Sounds like
wasn't
a
a fan of
king to me.
that,
Sounds
but
like a king.
operationally it worked out perfect.
You were like within the scene during this transformative era in both DC and Maryland. Can you share like what the challenges looked like? Besides like the security stuff you just talked about, did you have any funny issues with the government or the police? You don't have to rat on yourself, but like, what did that look
No.
like?
I mean, for sure, there were times where you've just done a 10, 12-hour shift at the store or whatever. You're exhausted. You're trying to get home. Maybe you're going a little faster than you should be. You get pulled over. And I can tell you that my interactions as far as law enforcement in particular are concerned, they actually have been very understanding. I show them my badge just because I tend to keep that on me most times. I also carry my medical card on me at all times as well. So, just being open with them on that front, my interactions with them have been pleasant.
Sweet.
Government's always fun, especially with regard to East Coast. I mean, most states were kind of copy and pasting the regulations from the states that already had things set up. So it was kind of putting things in place, but then, realizing that maybe this doesn't work in Maryland or whatever, or Jersey or wherever, and then they're having to go back and change things. So On that front, it really not so much a struggle, but just more being mindful of those changes and how frequently they can occur and staying on top of like bulletins that are being issued by the state agencies and that sort of thing.
That's what's fun about working in this industry, and fun is a little tongue in cheek. Is like you have to kind of be adaptable. Things are always changing, whether it's
Yep.
censorship in the media, like people have gotten kicked off of Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever, whether it's the
Yep.
actual letter of the law, like things are always moving.
Being able to stay on top of those regulations and the changes, staying in communication with vendors and stuff so that they can kind of help you navigate those landscapes are definitely a big part of managing a dispensary and being successful on that front.
Bringing it from the Baltimore drive-thru till now, you still live in Maryland, right?
I do. Yep.
So where do you live in relation to Baltimore?
I'm about 45 minutes from Baltimore. I'm about an hour or so away from Philly. So I'm kind of in the middle of both. I mean, it's about a 2 hour-ish commute to Red Bank to the store every day, but I get lots of questions about that. And, I can say it's worth it. I love what I do. Monteverde, the owners, the company itself, they've all been great to me. My drive every day, like I said, it's nothing to me and it's totally worth it.
So it's 2 hours both ways. So
Yes.
you're driving
Yeah.
4 hours?
Yeah.
With a longer commute, I kind of liked waking up with my coffee and like some music and like
Yep.
thawing a little bit before talking to anybody.
I get to map out my day, kind of think about the deliveries that we have coming in, maybe changing something with the text or email blast. Like I get to make those adjustments. I'm not, running right into work, scrambling to get things set up. I kind of have my time to plan my approach and plan of attack for the day.
Before we get into like your present life, opening this Baltimore dispensary to now living in Northeast, whatever, have you noticed the changes? I mean, sure, you're in it day to day. The granular changes are right in your face, but like from a bird's eye view, how has Maryland changed?
The acceptance of cannabis overall, how quickly that changed in this state, like that blew my mind. I kind of had some perceptions going into it as far as like people were going to be a little reluctant. You have the whole like dare generation of people who were told to just say no. And cannabis was, a gateway drug and it leads to all these awful things. And it went away pretty quick. We had teachers coming in. That was always crazy. Having one of our employees being like, that's my third grade teacher.
That's the dream, honestly.
Right. And those were the same people who were teaching the DARE stuff from back then. So,
hilarious.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, the acceptance, I think, was the most shocking sort of change for me and just how quickly that came along. Now seeing the advertisements on TV, hearing the advertisements on the radio for the cannabis stuff. And every time I open up Google now, there's an advertisement for some dispensary or something. It's been really great to see how much it's kind of grown here.
Hell yeah. And like, I think with a new administration and kind of the future of leadership in cannabis legislation looking a little blurry or cloudy, I think it's super hopeful to look at how far we've come despite knowing we need to do a lot more work. Like that is an encouraging past to look back on,
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom was telling me the whole time that I was kind of getting into things like it's never going to be legal. It's never going to be legal, and yeah, absolutely. Just to see how far things have come. It does make me hopeful for the future. Hopefully we're able to get the Safe Banking Act passed here at some point in the near future and make some of those that'll allow for the changes that need to take place.
Hopefully the culture is setting the space for the law. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's take a little tiny break. And then in the next half, we'll talk a little bit about we're done with the past, what's happening right now. If you're wondering if medical cannabis could be right for you, Veriheal.com can link you with a physician in your area who can answer all of your questions and certify you for medical cannabis in your state. To book an appointment, visit Veriheal.com. That's Veriheal.com. See you there. Welcome back. So, first half, we talked a lot about your past. Now I kind of want to talk about how that informs your day-to-day. So, remind me how long Monteverde has been open.
We opened December 10th of 2023. So we got open medically in December, which is a very awkward time of year to open. So that was fun. We very quickly were able to get our rec approval from the CRC, which was awesome. It did take a little bit of time to kind of turn that license around and become operational recreationally. So February 24th of last year, we opened recreationally. So we're just about to hit our 1 year mark on rec.
First of all, happy 1 year, more than 1 year.
Thank you.
Hell
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's so sick. We talked last year, I don't remember when it was, maybe the spring. At that time, you guys had just kind of entered the scene. You know, you had a lot of people opposing you that Elizabeth spoke about, and then turns around, they come into the dispensary a few months later. How did your customer base kind of change? Do you have like regulars now?
Yes. Yeah. We have people that we kind of interact with on a first name basis. They know us, we know them. There's even a few where it's just kind of like, hey, your usual. We definitely have that base at the store, which is amazing. We love them. The level of new people that we're continuing to see is what's been probably the most shocking to me. Is it's almost on a daily basis. We have people coming in saying, I didn't even know you were here. And like, they're not that far away. So it continues to grow, which is great. We definitely were seeing some opposition from the people in town. And it's just that initial hesitancy of not knowing what that's going to bring. It was new. You know, we were the first ones in the town to get open. But now that we're there, I feel like people see that we're not there to cause trouble. We're trying to help. We're trying to be respectful to the town. We're trying to give back. So they seem receptive, and most of them, if not all, have come around, and we do have some that, you know, frequent the store now.
To your earlier point, I don't know anything about your age demographic for your customers, but like, I'm assuming that many of these people who are initially opposing the dispensaries open had that same kind of DARE education, or maybe even taught it.
Yes.
So yeah. I think that like, even without really trying, even though I'm sure you're also trying, Monteverde's presence itself is helping people unlearn that kind of like internalized stigma.
Absolutely. Again, just coming from myself and how much it's helped me medically into the employees that we have, and just kind of made that our focus. Whenever people are coming in, that's one of the first things we're asking them is there anything specifically that you might be looking to treat or take care of or whatever, and just kind of guiding them along that journey to feeling better. When we have those people who came in that initially oppose us and they kind of see that approach that we're taking to things, I think it definitely eases them into it and kind of quiets the mind and makes them feel at ease.
Yes, I love that. The bridge between the super hardcore high THC dab community and the moms who want to use a topical. You know what I mean? Like being that friendly face, that open ear, et cetera, is honestly super urgent in like this space.
Oh yeah, you see it across the retail space. There are definitely places that kind of cater to certain demographics of the cannabis community. We do try to be more rounded in our approach to the things that we're putting on our menu. We try to have some holistic options or things that are more on the holistic side on our menu, from like patches and different sorts of topicals to cooking stuff, from sugars to coconut oil, olive oil. There's a ghee butter that's out now. We're also taking a look at the stuff that comes in from the vendors. We're still going to bring out like the diamond infused pre-rolls and those heavy hitters, but we're kind of making sure that we're giving to everybody.
Yes, like those all have their rightful place in the like medicine to fun spectrum. I'm so glad you brought up your menu, because I'm actually curious, as the manager, do you cater your menu to like those regulars? Jim's gonna love this. You know what I mean?
You definitely kind of think about those customers when you're reviewing the order sheets from vendors and stuff like that. But also you have to keep in mind that segments of the cannabis community, or maybe new people that might not be into those sorts of things. You still need to be mindful of those products that you can bring in that would attract those newer people or people who are less familiar with the products. Make sure that you're catering to everybody.
On that note, do your vendors kind of have the experience to like try some new stuff? Are they having fun?
It definitely seems like they are. Yeah. I mean, especially as this New Jersey market continues to grow. I mean, yes, the menus that we're getting from the vendors and stuff to order from, they've grown exponentially.
I love that, honestly. And like, do you notice any trends of what does well in Red Bank?
You know, flower, pre-rolls, and cartridges, those tend to be like the top three categories in most markets. But I think that the surprising thing for me, coming from all the different markets that I've been able to be a part of, the edible market here. People are really kind of gravitating more to the edibles, gummies, and all of that. And I think that just comes down to more of like wanting an inconspicuous nature to medicating. changing.
It reminds me of the constant evolution because as
Mhm.
the cannabis industry changes, we're doing more research, we're learning about which formulations of cannabis are better for which symptoms, et cetera, et cetera. We know now more about the tar that comes from inhaling cannabis. I think that
Mhm.
also shows some like health conscious trend.
For sure. Yeah, you definitely have people that are more conscious and mindful of those sorts of things. And that's another part of it too, seeing how many companies now, in particular on the edible side, are bringing out products that have more of those minor cannabinoids, more of those lesser known terpenes to give you more of an entourage effect so that you're
Mhm.
kind of hitting things from all fronts. And then also the products now that are targeting certain ailments from joint relief to period and cramp relief products for women. It's amazing to see the array of products that these companies are able to produce now to benefit everyone, no
Mhm.
matter what you might be dealing with.
I'm excited to see how that grows because I know like doctors on our side are like really advocates for like full plant versus high levels of THC or whatever. So I'm excited to see how the science gets
Mhm.
tailored as we evolve.
Yes, yeah. And speaking back to the other point about the future and the regulation changes, hopefully the testing regulations and research and stuff that scientists are allowed to do in the US, hopefully that continues to expand out and grow more and kind of loosen on the restriction side so that they can really hone in on those things and we can really start to help people even more than we already have been.
Kind of reminds me of something else I was going to ask is like as you're getting these real-time insights into what the red bag community prefers, how does that inform your community outreach? How does that inform Monteverde's presence in Red Bank and in that community as a whole?
We're definitely mindful of those things, but we're still kind of taking our own approach. You know what I mean? It's kind of like finding that balance of the goal and vision that we have in mind while also kind of trying to tailor things to those certain demographics and communities that we have in the area.
Definitely. Especially as all of these minor cannabinoids and stuff get more popularity. I imagine you guys are doing a lot of education of like, well, what is CBG? What is
Right.
limonene or however you pronounce it?
Right.
You know?
For sure. All of the employees at our location, if you're curious about those sorts of things and you come in and you start asking questions, the staff will sit there with you. They'll pull up Google with you. If they don't know the answer, we're going to help you find it and we're going to learn with you. And that's really it. Getting the knowledge down about, and there's so many cannabinoids, so many terpenes, but just trying to learn as much as you can so that you're able to better help that next person that comes in that might be under a similar circumstance to that last person that you help, but goes a long way. And obviously, the more science and stuff that we can do around that, the better.
And I think, like, especially because a lot of our education in whether it's public or private schools, a lot of the curriculum is like kind of antiquated and it takes much longer to make those systemic changes in the schooling system. But with dispensaries like Monteverde, that's the actual like grassroots education that needs to be done so that we're all better informed about cannabis use and we're all better at avoiding the potential risks and treating our unique ailments effectively.
No, you're absolutely correct.
I know you said that your team will like live Google things that they don't know. I love that. I love the like
Mhm.
approachable nature of that. We're all learning together, but is there anything you do to help your team learn more? Like when you're hiring maybe a bud tender or something,
Mhm.
how do you prepare them for the streets, as it were?
Throughout, I've kind of collected articles. The leafly cannabinoid wheel and terpene wheel are always a go-to, but I kind of have certain aspects of those together and created kind of like a Cannabis 101 training for the new hires that we have coming in. So it goes over everything from like a brief history of cannabis to the state and local regulations to different use types, all of the different products and categories of products. It's in depth, but it is kind of like a overview in a sense of cannabis as a whole. We do have that put together for any new hires. We have them shadow for about a week. They do have access to that training the entire time that they're with us. So if they have questions or they think like, well, I remember seeing something about that in training, they can always refer back to that information.
Sweet. Is that kind of handbook like standard across dispensaries to your knowledge? Or you
No,
should pitch that to the cannabis sharks and make millions of dollars.
No, I mean, there are definitely dispensaries out there that have some pretty robust trainings put together. They're pretty well done, pretty thorough as far as what they're trying to convey to you on the cannabis side of things. But I would say most, and in particular, like your mom pop, a lot of times they don't, or if they do, it's not very well put together. I've seen that firsthand a few times. So no, we did try to put something together that wasn't going to like overwhelm, but was going to give somebody enough knowledge that coming out onto the sales floor, they're going to have that base to do what they need to do to help people and get going.
I love that. And honestly, your years of experience now, you seem like you're in the right spot to be the future of dispensary management. There is a little Brad in the Monteverde method.
Thank you. I mean, I can't say enough about how much cannabis has changed my life, not only from the medicine standpoint and consuming it myself, but also just from my life personally and what it's been able to provide to me and how I've been able to take care of my family with this has been amazing. I do try to put everything of me into everything that I do for Monteverde and the store there. So I appreciate you saying that.
You can tell that this comes from a real place of like experience and humanity rather than like profit.
And that's what we go for. I mean, obviously with any business, your goal at the end of the day is to make money.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
if companies were being honest, you know,
We
they
have
would
no
all
choice,
tell you that.
you know?
But we always have our customers in mind. I will say that with everything that we do, we're always putting their best interests at heart. So with the deals that we run, to the products that we're bringing in, to the vendors that we work with, all of it, those customers are in mind in every step.
I love that. Before I let you go, I would love to like give you the space to talk about what cannabis means to you, what you wish the world knew about cannabis, and what's next for Brad Shelly.
I think this actually comes from a personal place. I have family members who now seeing my journey have kind of obviously been more embracing of cannabis. I have some family members now who have tried it, who didn't really try it in the past. I will say it's not for everybody.
Yes.
Just first and foremost, it is not for everybody, but for the people that it is for, really work with your local dispensary. Go in there, ask questions. Don't be shy. It's tough, you know, but break out of your shell a little bit, ask those questions.
Yeah. And most of the time, weed people are nice. You know, they
Right,
want to answer
exactly.
those questions.
100%. I mean, the last thing we want is sending somebody out of the store and having them be upset with their purchase,
Right.
or thinking that it didn't help them or that they weren't listened to or whatever. So really just that. If you are looking to come into the cannabis space as a consumer, if you've never tried it before, ask questions. There is going to be some trial and error involved, so don't get frustrated. Keep at it. But when you find your product, it's life-changing. I will say that.
For real.
And I've seen that so many times, from cancer patients to people with anxiety and depression who were shut-ins, essentially now being able to experience life again and enjoy themselves. Just simple injuries as well, helping people get through those surgeries is absolutely amazing. Don't believe the stigma behind it. It's time for a little bit of change on that front, especially to the older folks. I've got parents. I've seen the way that it's been able to help them as they've grown to accept it and started to use themselves. Yeah, those are the big things for me. The other part to that is I just personally want to say thank you to everybody at Monteverde. They have been absolutely amazing. I cannot thank Elizabeth enough. She is a beautiful human being. We were brought together for a reason. I'm a little sad she couldn't be with us today.
Same.
Right? She's great, but you know, we'll get there. Hopefully you'll have us back on again in the future. We can have Elizabeth on and chat some more.
Yes, this isn't over. Brad, that was such a good answer. I got chills like
Thank you.
multiple times
Thank
throughout
you.
that. Thank you so much for coming. Your insight is so
Yeah.
valuable. It will continue to be valuable as Monteverde grows, as education grows, and thank you for doing the work out there. We need people like you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys and everything that you do, and we're here for you as well. So thank you for having me on, and yeah, hopefully we talk again soon.
Yes, definitely.
The heal is real.